if what the current government is promising us will be realized within 5 years, if you think that's going to be realized, it's either you are mad, drunk, or both.
Mr. Rui, thank you so much for coming on Africa Speaks.
Thank you.
So Namibia is currently in a very important era where we just sworn in our very first female president as well. So, and it has now become one of the only African country with a female president and also with a female vice president as well. So maybe like on your view, like maybe what is your view, what is your take on this matter?
Well, first of all, point of correction, Tanzania also has a female president, even though she was not elected, but she's still the head of state. Ours is the second that was elected after the president of Liberia, Sirleaf Johnson. But just to answer your question, it's now safe to say that we have entered the epoch of unpredictable politics. Unpredictable in the sense that we have now ushered in a completely new dispensation or creed of leaders, young technocrats, people that are not used to the political arena. There's a saying that in order to usher in new transformation, the old needs to die. And with the appointment of the current ministers, the old have definitely been extinguished into oblivion. The former Minister of Labour, the former Minister of Higher Education, the former Minister of Education, and a bunch of other leaders that were somehow sucking the treasury dry by not delivering on the services that they ought to have done.
Okay, so now with the country having about like 60% of our cabinet like with a female representative as well, because we have like a female president with a female vice president as well. So what does this actually mean maybe for like the Namibian political landscape?
Well, I've always been someone that did not really pay much attention to the significance of the sex of the people that are in power. Whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, whether it's a hyena, a giraffe, or a donkey, we should be interested in the capabilities of this person who will be able to transform the Namibian society for better. And for too long, Namibia, together with countries like Rwanda, we are being praised for empowering women to ascend to the corridors of power and decision making. But in our case, we are so much obsessed with descriptive representation. How many women are in cabinet? How many women are in the corporate space? How many women are in the National Assembly? But we do not focus on substantive representation, meaning to what extent have these women been able to address issues that affect women? If you have watched our 7th Parliament, from the day that they were sworn in towards the end, how many women have actually brought issues to the National Assembly to say, these are the issues that are affecting women, how do we address them? As a matter of fact, it was actually members of the opposition that were actually keen on addressing women issues, despite the fact it was the governing party that had a lot of women within their structures and decision-making. Again, I'm not interested in who is the president, who is the vice president. I'm interested in the capacity of this individual, because running a country is a serious business. These people directly or indirectly get to decide who lives or dies. Where will a school be constructed? Where will a clinic be constructed? Where will people have access to potable drinking water? The bread and butter issues is what we as a country should focus on. Yes, historically, women have been discriminated against. We know historically that despite the fact that men and women tend to do the same job, women tend to be paid less. There's always discrimination in the workplace, sexual harassment, gender-based violence, all valid and serious issues that we need to deal with. But the issue has always been this: how many women are in parliament? How many women? But we don't ask the question, what have these women actually done now that they've been given this power? Some would say, we also don't say what have men done. We know what men have done. The mess that we are in is because of men leadership. But the ascendance of Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah as the first female president of Namibia, speaker being female, vice president being female. We shouldn't pay too much attention to that as a collective. We should actually look at what it is that they have promised, and then we hold them accountable to those standards. Policy intention is one thing, but policy impact is the overall or overarching instrument to which you actually measure the performance of a government of the day. And we'll only be able to know that 365 days from now and towards the end of her term.
Yeah, but I think also there's been some argument, especially when it comes to our cabinet, that we have a large of female representation within the parliament as well. But then how many of those women are in the capacity of making those laws? Because even though they have the capability of bringing those changes forward or those decisions forward, who are the people that are in power that will be able to pass those laws forward, which is still is like men?
Yes, no, absolutely. To a large extent, Namibia's society is still highly patriarchal. Men dominate, men rule. So it's not unthinkable to have a situation where women, now that they've been elected into these positions of authority or leadership, they actually start behaving like men. They are surrounded by men. If you look at institutions that are primarily dominated by men, the military, the police, the correctional service, despite the fact that these are in the security cluster or the security domain, they are still critical decision makers. They are in the shadows there. But in any democratic country or in any post-colonial African state, to a large extent, the military still plays a key role, whether we want to in the decision-making process or not. Zimbabwe is a classical example of how things can go south if the military start peddling into the political affairs of the state. But again, to your previous question, there were actually some instances in our National Assembly where women have actually voted against issues that advance the interests of women. There was a female MP that actually said that you cannot call it rape if a husband forces himself on their wife. What kind of thinking goes into that? Consent remains consent. It doesn't matter whether I am married to my wife. Sexual intercourse still needs to be consensual. I cannot force myself on my wife, whether I've married her or whether she's I am the breadwinner in the house. Consent remains consent. So it's that kind of thinking that now that you have married this person, you somehow owe them. We need to do away with that kind of thinking.
That's so true. And, you know, we have some critics that actually argue with some certain appointments that currently happen, that some of the appointments were actually made for diversity rather than competency as well. So what is your take on that as well?
Yeah, look, the national question pertains to the issue of ethnicity in our body politic. And it will always remain a salient issue, for the fundamental reason that Namibia is a heterogeneous society. Namibia is a vibrant laboratory of ethnic identities. The Awambo, the Ovaherero, the Nama, the Basta, the Coloureds, the Whites, people from the Zambezi region, from the Kavango region. So whatever issues that you might. So our constitution also speaks about culture. There should be no discrimination on the basis of ethnicity or tribe, whatever the case might be. And the reason why ethnicity is so salient, it's because people always look at it from the lens of the distribution of resources. Who's getting the jobs? Who's getting the tenders? And for you to decide who gets the job, who gets the tenders, you need to be in a position of authority. Who is the minister? Who is the ED? Who is the CEO? So the moment someone, for example, who is Nama speaking, sees only Awambo and Ochero speaking people in positions of power, will ultimately feel excluded. And when I was a student, I actually had a Nama friend of mine. He was struggling to pay his tuition fee. And I asked him, but why did you not apply for the NASFAF loan? He said, no, that's only for Vambos. It's not for people like us, you know. So it's that kind of sentiment, real or imagined, that has been ingrained in the general public imagination. Because people look at the allocation of resources from an ethnic lens. Whether they are real or imagined, it is there. We cannot do away with it, but we need to deal with it. Ethnic balancing in the allocation of positions in cabinet, in the National Assembly, is one of the considerations that people make subconsciously and sometimes even consciously. Classical example, look at the current cabinet and you look at the one before it. There was always ethnic consideration. Under President Geingob, you had Geingob as the president, Tamara speaking. First VP, Nikki Yambo, Oshiwambo speaking. Prime Minister was Sarah Oshiwambo speaking. Deputy Prime Minister was Oshiwambo speaking, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah. Now we have the President, Oshiwambo speaking. Vice President, Nama speaking. Prime Minister from the Kavango region, Deputy Prime Minister, Oshiwambo speaking. So they are very conscious. They could have said, we are going to appoint all four, the top four in the executive, all our Oshiwambo speaking. There would have been an outcry, and rightly so. But my argument has always been, should we really focus on that, or do we look at, if we have, let's say for argument's sake, a cabinet that is just Ochero speaking individuals, and they deliver in terms of the material conditions of people, will people still complain? Or look at the announcement that was made last week by the Secretary General of the UDF, a primarily Damara party, coming out to say that we do not see a minister that is Damara. We are excluded. Where is the unity in diversity the government preaches about? Where is the policy of national reconciliation? So for them, is if they do not see themselves in position of power, they are excluded, because that is a symbolic representation of themselves. That's the unfortunate nature of our politics. It doesn't only happen in Namibia. It happens in any post-colonial African state that is not homogeneous, but a rather heterogeneous society.
So will this kind of like have a negative or like a positive impact on the government, especially now since we are just looking at diversity instead of competency? Or are those maybe both of them kind of like considered when it came to choosing of now the cabinet?
Well, I think it would be ideal that you strike a balance. But my preference would be competence first above any other ethnic considerations. Competence first, people that have the requisite skills, knowledge and attitude, people that understand the complex dynamics of our society, people that know where we come from, where we are and where we want to go, a vision that is inclusive, that leaves, in the words of President Geingob, no Namibian behind. Now, if you look at the socioeconomic dynamics that is currently engulfing our society, the poverty, the inequality, the unemployment, food insecurity, those are issues that the current president says he wants to tackle. To paraphrase, we are too few to be poor. Now, the question is, the people that you have appointed, there have been a lot of questions around them. Who are they? Are they up to the task? You look at Supper Party manifesto, you look at the Supper Party implementation plan. These are all, at least the Supper Party implementation plan, some solid, good recommendations of what it is that they want to do. The reform of the Regional Councils Act, the reform of the Local Authorities Act, to somehow remove the bureaucracy. They are aware, or they are cognizant of the fact that there are some elements within local authorities that are gods on themselves, not accountable to the public. And how do you align local authority vision to that of the central government in a critical issue like housing, for example? Local authorities remain the sole custodians in terms of the alienation of urban land. Central government wants to construct 10,000 houses per year as per the promises of the current president. How do you remove the structural bottlenecks that are embedded in local authorities? Some local authorities are controlled by the opposition. Would it be in their interest for SWAPO to claim success as per the national policy on housing? Or would they want to sabotage it to say, no, we have no interest in that unless we are at the forefront of giving the key to the recipients? So you need to understand those dynamics, those intricacies. And the sad part is that it does not improve the economic situation of the people on the ground, because people continuously engage in campaigning while they're supposed to focus on service delivery.
Okay. And our cabinet, our new cabinet has actually been reduced from 21 to 14 ministries actually now. Should we be excited?
We should only be excited for as long as it has a direct impact on the people's quality of life and their immediate living environment. But we should also be excited that there will be public savings. For too long, we have been paying ministers that they themselves do not know why they are there. For too long, we have had deputy ministers. In my view, that position is utterly and completely useless. You don't need deputy ministers. In fact, deputy ministers cannot even act if the minister is out of the country. A minister from a different portfolio needs to come and act in that capacity. So deputy ministers, in my view, they do not need to exist. It's a waste of money. But as long as you do not transform what actually happens in the machinery of government, the bureaucracy, the executive directors, the deputy executive directors, the directors and deputy directors, whatever it is, the vision that you have set at the top level will not be able to cascade down, because these individuals, unelected individuals, they operate as if government is their personal fiefdom. They are not accountable to anyone because they are not elected. They do as they please. And that's because the existing policies and laws makes it so difficult to fire these people. So these laws need to be amended if they are serious about policy implementation. Make it easy to fire these people. Make it easy, or ensure rather, that there are certain legal instruments in place that ensures high levels of accountability. If person A has been assigned a task and they've been unable to deliver, what happens to that person? Do you just say it's business as usual? You pass on the buck, give it to another person, or what happens? And that's because the culture within the civil service, it's as if people are governing their private households. And that's because they do not look at the civil service as a professional entity that is tasked with dealing with the public, people that pay tax. Their salaries are paid by us, taxpayers. They don't look at it like that. And if they were employed in a private sector, a majority of them would have been fired by now.
That's so true. And some of the appointments have actually brought mixed emotion, especially like the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Finance as well. Do you think experience should really be the top priority, priority for selections?
Well, running the affairs of the state is not managing a kindergarten. It's not managing a shabin or a kuka shop. You are there to deal with the litany of problems that society faces. The ministry that you've just mentioned, finance and health. The Ministry of Health is so pivotal to the Namibian society because it deals with issues of access to primary health care. We still know that some of our fellow Namibians are being treated under trees, especially in rural areas where there is no national health administrative footprint. The ministry currently, we only have one major hospital, Katutura State Hospital, and the other referral one, Central. And those institutions were established before independence. After independence, we have not constructed a single hospital. 35 years, we have not constructed a single hospital the magnitude of Katutura and Central. In fact, Katutura Hospital, we shouldn't call it a hospital because it has actually become a human abattoir. A human abattoir in the sense that no person that is seriously ill, that has major injuries, would want to go to Katutura Hospital because there you will die because they don't have the basics of how to, in terms of treating people. They are understaffed. Talk to the nurses, talk to the doctors, they'll tell you. I have relatives that actually died in that hospital because no one was attending to them, because the medicines that ought to have treated these people were not in existence. So You wouldn't want to go to Katutura Hospital. Ask any government official, a minister, an ED, if they are sick now, would they want to go to Katutura Hospital?
Probably not.
They will not go there because they know they will have an appointment with death. They will not go there. Despite the fact, right opposite Katutura Hospital, you have constructed a political party office, a party that is currently in charge of government to the tune of almost $1 billion, while a hospital right opposite that office does not have medicine, is in a dilapidated state, and is unable to attend to the health needs of the Namibian population. Why should someone come from Kavango region, from the Karas region to come to Katutura State Hospital? Why don't we have hospitals of that magnitude in each and every hospital? Yes, we have heard from the governing party's intentions of bringing public health facilities up to the standard of the private sector. So if you go to Katutura Hospital, it's as if you are entering Lady Pohamba, Rhino Park, or what is the other one in Klein Windhoek? Mediclinic. Good and well. But I would want those politicians who are making these promises, they must first go to the public health services until they've brought those hospitals up to those standards. They must attend Katutura Hospital, they must go to Central Hospital and the various health facilities that we have across the country. They shouldn't go to Lady Pohamba. They shouldn't go to Rhino Park. They shouldn't go to Mediclinic. Let them use those public health facilities until they've realized the promises that they've promised to the Namibian public. Then we'll take them seriously.
I see. But do you think that with our new health minister, who is like very youthful, young blood, with energetic, and maybe with like new amazing ideas, will be able to at least like improve those or the health ministry as well?
Look, Elizabeth, there is a world of ideology and there is a world of reality. In the world of ideology, people conjure up images of a prosperous society. They conjure up ideas of how they want society to be. You know, what is the thing in the Bible? Is it manna in heaven?
Yes.
Whatever it is. Now, that world is good because somehow you have laid out a vision of how you are, where you want to take society. That's good. That's your policy intent. Then there's also a world of reality, how things actually are. And you need to ask yourself, in terms of housing, in terms of healthcare, in terms of social infrastructure, in terms of food security, where are we? And which political party is currently making these promises? Is it a new political party? Or is it a political party that has now entered into a coalition? For the past 35 years, SWAPO has not been in a coalition at national level with any political party. They had the sole mandate to govern this country. They dominated the public policy making process. So the current problems that we are experiencing is the making of the governing party that the current president is off. So for the past 35 years, Namibians have been in an abusive relationship with SWAPO. Promises have been made under delivery. Pohamba's presidency, Geinkop's presidency, we are now in Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah's presidency.
Yeah.
We have been there before. Geinkop has made a lot of promises with Harambee Prosperity Plan 1, Harambee Prosperity Plan 2, saying that we'll get rid of sheikhs within 5 years, the promises that he made in 2017. We are now in 2025. There are still 1.1 million people living in informal settlements, kambashus as we would call them. So we've been there. It's nothing new. It's the very same governing party that is in charge of state machinery. If you think that these promises will be realized, it's either you're a child, you are just born, you are oblivious to the political situation that this current president comes from, because Einstein defined insanity as doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So if you are a thinking Namibian and you have followed our political discourse in terms of the policy making process for the past, at least, you don't even need to go far, at least for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
If what the current government is promising us will be realized within 5 years, if you think that's going to be realized, it's either you are mad, drunk, or both. I don't think it will be realized, but it's within our interest for those promises that they've made to be realized, because it will benefit us.
Yeah.
It means crime will be low if people are getting those 250,000 jobs that have been promised. It means the average Namibian will have access to portable drinking water, will have access to housing. Those are serious burning issues in our country. Namibia is competing with South Africa to be the most unequal state. For the past 5 years, our Gini coefficient is so high. South Africa always beats us. They remain number one. We always number two. We want to get out of that. And if the president is serious about addressing these issues, she needs to start at the bottom to the top and from the top to the bottom. You cannot leave anything to chance. Those bureaucrats in government, they're actually laughing because they know that the buck stops with them. They are responsible for implementation. And if there are no accountability mechanisms in place, they've spoken about a monitoring dash of how they are going to monitor these things. If it happens, if they are able to achieve at least 50% of the promises that they make, SWAPO will be voted back into power into 2020.
Yeah. Okay, now let's talk about the budget. That was actually recently tabled. Do you think that this budget actually reflects the president's promises or SWAPO's manifestos?
Well, look, I haven't critically analyzed the budget yet, so I don't have an informed opinion on it as of yet. But what I do know is that the overall budget, even in its current iteration, you cannot have a situation where we spend 13 billion on debt servicing. You cannot have a situation where the budget for servicing annual debt is equivalent to the development budget. Development budget that is meant to implement the promises that have been made. You cannot have a situation like that. It's not sustainable. The current Minister of Finance has said it as well. It's not sustainable at all. Now, the current president has only 5 years to implement the promises that she has made to the Namibian people. With a budget of 85.7 billion over a 5-year period. We are also aware about the bureaucracy, how long it takes for funds to be released to the various ministries. Some ministries, towards the end of the financial year, they return the money to Treasury. And that is a form of economic terrorism. Economic terrorism in the sense that you're actually violating someone's needs, someone's aspiration just to have access to water somewhere in Kongola, somewhere in Okangwate, somewhere deep in the south. Again, it comes back to the issue of accountability. Some would say, yes, the money is released too late, so we do not have enough time to execute the projects. By the time we advertise the tender, it's too late. But there are people that are in charge of these things. Change the laws, change the policies if need be, because you'll be complaining about the same thing over and over with real significant change taking place at the grassroots level.
Okay. So like as a political analyst as well, I just want you to give us like your own opinion, your own analytic as well. Maybe like which appointment actually of the current appointment actually stands out for you and which one is kind of like concerning for you.
Look, the appointment of the ministries, if you look at international relations and trade that has been merged, which in my view makes sense, because it gives an indication that the president wants to focus on economic diplomacy, which is very important. But the key question is the ambassadors that we have across the countries. For too long, the appointment of ambassadors in France, the United States, various capitals in Europe, they've actually been extended vacations. They're not on duty. Which ambassador came back to us and said, you know what, because of me being stationed in Berlin, I've been able to liaise with the Ministry of Trade, with the Ministry of Works and Transport, or the Ministry of Education for people to be trained in a particular skill set because those are industrialized nations.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything like that. If there's something like that happened, I apologize. How do you see those industries, partnerships, smart partnerships being established that speaks to our needs as a country? Why is it that we do not have factories that have been formed on the basis of those kind of economic diplomacy? They are more interested in shopping. They are more interested in SAT. They get fat in the 5 years that they have been appointed there. And we don't want them to get fat. We want them to bring about development partnerships that speaks to the needs of our country. And that's why they have been stationed there. The current Minister of International Relations is a seasoned diplomat. She's a former ED of that very same ministry. The current Minister of Finance is a former permanent secretary or ED of that very same ministry. So these are technocrats that knows the in and outs of those respective ministries. So to a large extent, I think it could be a good appointment because they know the in and outs of the ministry already. They are not new. It's nothing new. So they can hit the ground running immediately. Yeah. But maybe since they are already inside us, it could be business as usual.
I see. And like, what does this maybe appointments say about the leadership of the current president? Because it's totally different from, I think, like the previous governments that we had, like her appointments that we made, because she's trying to bring in new people. And I see how the public is also reacting to it. They are kind of like, they are given hope as well, that this might be kind of like taking us into a different direction, or she might be up to something positive, bringing something positive around the country as well?
Well, I look at it differently. Firstly, it's not necessarily the political culling of deadwood that has been in cabinet for too long. It's also the internal dynamics of the governing party, SWAPO. It's the first time where you have a situation where 8 non-voting members become full ministers, you know, and that's because SWAPO's majority in the National Assembly has been diminished significantly. Secondly, is also the issue of if you were to appoint those people that are on the governing party's list as ministers, since they are full-time jobs as ministers will require them to travel around the country while Parliament is in session and an important motion or bill is being discussed, they will be overshadowed by the opposition. So that's one of the considerations that have been made by the president. Thirdly is the issue of, again, the internal dynamics within SWAPO itself. You need to go back to 2022, the Congress of the governing party. Who were the challenges for the position of vice president? It was the current president of the country and the party. It was the current speaker of the National Assembly. And it was the former Minister of Environment and Tourism. Those were the 3 major contenders. Now, the president then already said that she wants unity in the party. So, last year at the party's electoral college, she did not contest to be on the pot. She was brought in as the 10 of the president. So she did not contest. So she already had plans for her back in 22 already. And what were those plans? Now, the electoral college results reflect that the majority of the people that supported Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah did not make it to the list. They are at 53 and down. Now, what do you do as the president? She was like, okay, since these people, the 51 that are on the party's list to be members of the National Assembly, were people that did not support my presidency.
Yeah.
What do I do with them? I will not appoint them as ministers. So what I will do is, let me put the people that they supported to be the presidential or the vice president at that time of the party, let me appoint her as the speaker, and then she will be able to deal with the people in the National Assembly. She was the head of the kindergarten. There are your children. deal with them in the National Assembly. So it's clear politics at play here. And it's also a vote of no confidence in those that did not support. So whichever way you look at it, it was clear politics at play. Politics 101, unfortunately.
I see. And like, what does maybe this cabinet actually mean for the Namibia's economic stability and social development as well?
The composition of this cabinet, I think it's premature to assess as to whether they will perform or not. And like I said before, we've been here before. Major promises have been made. They have not been kept. But if you're a keen observer of our politics, if you know the intricacies of our political system, if you know how policies are made, you will be skeptical as to whether those objectives will be realized or not. Namibia currently has a poverty rate of 1.6 million out of 3.1 Namibians. We currently have 36%, the strict definition of unemployment according to the NSA, and then 54% or 56% unemployment. One of the biggest unemployment rates in the world. There is serious concern if we are talking about political and social stability. The electoral misfortunes of the governing party since 29 is a strong vote of no confidence in SWAPO. And Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah knows that the performance of SWAPO in the next 5 years is a classical it will be a clear referendum as to whether SWAPO will come back in 2029. So if they are unable to deliver on those promises, it will be a serious blow to her party and also to her character as someone that said that she wants to reform. She wants it will not be business as usual. And just to paraphrase her, I love you, even if you hate me based on the decisions that I will make, it's in the interest of the Namibian public. And people will hold her accountable come 2029.
So you've spoken loudly about the need for bureaucratic reforms as well. So what structural issues need to be addressed?
Let's just deal with one pertinent public policy issue, which is housing. And I know the SWAPO Party implementation policy speaks to that effect. They are talking about reforming or amending the Regional and Local Authorities Act because these are institutions of the state, even though it is at the regional and local authority level, that deal with the bread and butter issues of people on the ground. So for as long as local authorities' development vision is not aligned to the national vision, whatever you are planning here at the top will not cascade down to the bottom. So they need to be aligned. That's why they are proposing for this amendment. And I think it would be a step in the right direction. Get rid of the bureaucracy, get rid of the petty politics that is prevalent in these local authorities. For example, if you have a local authority that is being controlled by the opposition, central government is asking for land. We want to start building houses there. And this political party will think, if we allow this, SWAPO will take credit. So where do we partake in this process? So they need to get rid of those structural bottlenecks because they are the major impediments to realizing issues like housing, for example. So those reforms, if they do happen, will be in the interest of the Namibian public and not necessarily political parties.
Interesting. So I want us to move to the visa issue. Because it's stating that the visa restriction that was currently just passed as well, that from the 1st of April, Western countries will be required to actually apply for a visa or to have a visa to actually enter Namibia, those that do not reciprocate that. So how do you think, is this like a go-to move or is it like a...
I've heard the sentiments that have been expressed pertaining to that issue. And people within the tourism industry were saying this was bad public policy. Bad public policy in the sense that Namibia, to a large extent, depends on tourism. Tourism contributes a significant portion to our GDP. It sustains jobs, it creates jobs. And some were actually saying, no, if I want to go to the UK and we are expected to have visas, or to Germany, why should we not impose visas on them? And the other question was, how many Namibian tourists go to Europe and how many European tourists come to Namibia? The figures speak to more Europeans coming to Namibia than Namibians going to Europe. But again, that's not really my industry.
Yeah.
It's not something that I've researched on to have an informed opinion
Yeah.
about it. These are just sentiments that have been expressed by those in the industry.
Yeah. Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ray, for coming on Africa Speaks. But before, maybe just to get your final thoughts as well, looking ahead, what are some of the key indicators that should Namibians watch out to really assess the new cabinet success?
Well, it's within our interest for the president to succeed, but she can only succeed if she holds those that she has appointed to account for the litany of promises that she has made. Now, again, our country is at crossroads here. I don't think it's in the interest of any Namibian, including myself, for her to fail. We want her to succeed, but she needs to get the basics right. Accountability remains the core. Tackling corruption is very important for youth, for the Namibian public to have faith in the way government operates, the way government distributes resources, issues pertaining to land reform, urban land reform in particular, agricultural land reform. Some people still feel that they are excluded. The issue of the Namibian genocide, those are all burning issues that Namibians want to be addressed. But again, on the issue of genocide, we cannot ignore the fact that the affected community, the Ovairero, the Nama, and the Damara, they themselves are divided. They are not speaking with one voice. And it's just because of petty politics, a chief saying this, another chief saying this. And this is actually at the detriment of the people that they prepared to represent. They need to speak with one voice. And the government needs to listen to the community in terms of what it is that they want to do. This is a very serious issue. People were dispossessed of their land. They were killed. They were murdered in their numbers. And we need to take it seriously. But let's speak with one voice. There can be disagreements, but the overall overarching goal should be the needs of the people that were affected. Nothing else.
Yeah, that's so true. So thank you so much. And maybe where can the listeners actually follow you, or maybe follow your work as well? Or if they want to get in touch with you?
Well, look, I'm not really present on social media. I do have an X account, the Facebook account, Instagram account. But my work that I do is, if you follow most of the media outlets, it's there. If you read the newspapers, you'll find me. You can just go and Google my name. You'll see it and how I engage with various media outlets. Social media, to a large extent, has become so toxic. That's why I tend to refrain from engaging with people, because people, they don't engage necessarily to be more informed about a particular issue. They engage so that they can win a discussion, and that's not progress.
Yeah, that's so true. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate you coming here on Africa Speak, and looking forward to having you again next time as well.
You're most welcome.
Yes.